Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my living room. Today we have the wonderful Jenny Wemert from Wemert Group Realty
Thanks for having me.
here to chat for the day. How's it going, Jenny?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you including me in this.
Of course. You're back in Orlando back in the rain after spending a week out in sunny, I would imagine, kind of hot Texas.
Yes. Yep. We went out for the Zillow conference and, enjoyed it. It was great. Learned a lot about the future of real estate and how Zillow, the big player, is going to play in it. And then, we've coming back to lick our wounds. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, when you have the monster, I'll say it, of Zillow, yeah, they have the ability to make decisions that impact the industry, have the ability to change it. Not that we haven't had enough change in the past couple weeks.
They've been a great partner to us for years. Yep. We've built businesses with them, but they are a giant, and they have a lot of power.
Yes, and we won't go totally down this path, but you of course know, since we partner in so much co-marketing with Premier Agent, how important they are to lenders because, right, I mean, they have really nailed RESPA compliance, and that makes our lives very easy when we are partnering with agents. So I very much have them to thank for that because it does make life easy.
Yep, they've created a giant mousetrap for both of us.
And we are stuck in it. But that's okay. That is okay.
We're like stuck in the peanut butter.
Yeah, we're in the peanut butter. Mousetrap hasn't snapped down yet. Oh boy, we should have done drinks for this podcast. Next podcast we'll do a cocktail hour.
Yeah, it would be way more fun.
Yeah, it would be way more fun. All right, so let's get into it. Jenny, like I said before you came out here, I wanted you on today because I think that it's remarkable what you built, how you built it, how you keep it, what it is today with your brokerage that operates like one gigantic team, dare I say family. And I don't think everybody gets the chance to speak with you one-on-one about it. So I wanted to capture some of it. We can get it out there.
Sure.
So let's start with just the basic. Just give me the rundown. Start into real estate. When was it? What were you doing? Where were you? Give me that.
Okay, so I grew up in a family of realtors, also insurance and title and everything real estate.
All real estate, got it.
And appraisers. So it was in my blood, but I started out actually as a teacher, and I taught 7th grade science for 7 years in Houston, Texas. Okay. And I realized as a teacher, I just was more competitive. I had a competitive nature, and I couldn't get enough feedback fast enough. Like as a teacher, I couldn't wait until the kids came back after they graduated to tell me I was amazing. It was like that was just
instant
too long.
gratification was what you needed.
I needed instant feedback. So I was finding myself as a teacher taking on everything. So I was, a team leader. I was a cheer coach. I was the science pod leader. I was, whatever, because I enjoyed the leadership piece. I enjoyed building things. Everything but teaching, right?
Yep.
So I thought I need to be selling something. Yep. And then I thought, well, what am I going to sell? And naturally, real estate came to mind because that's how I grew up,
that's
right?
What you saw day in and day out growing up.
Right.
Yep.
So I went and got my real estate license. I thought I would do it part-time because I was a teacher. And I got in, and my instructor was telling me stories about successful agents and what they did. And I was sitting in the room, I'm thinking, I can totally do that. I can do that, And my husband was an accountant at the time, and I went home and I said, what do you think about me doing this actually full time? And he goes, go for it.
Yeah.
And so I did. I quit teaching. Well, at the end of my teaching career, I finished the school year. I started selling real estate, and I did 50 transactions my first year.
Wow. In Texas.
In Texas, at
what
like
year was
$40,000, $50,000 houses.
Okay. All right.
We
Yes.
had to do that many to make the money. And no one told me that was good. Like the only I guess the only bar that was set was when I turned in my first deal. Within the first 30 days I was in, the secretary at the time, she goes, well, wait till you start, 3 or 4 a month. I'm like, oh. So in my mind, that's what the bar is. Okay. And so I just went and did that, right?
Yeah.
And then my husband and I had triplets, and That slowed that down a bit.
That will detract a bit of your attention. Attention goes elsewhere.
Yeah.
That's what triplets will do.
Right.
Yeah.
So I had like about 2 years in real estate in Texas, had our babies, and then we moved to Florida because my family from Michigan had migrated down to Florida.
Okay.
And no one was coming to visit us in Texas. It's sort of like an island. Nobody wants to come on purpose.
Unlike Florida, where you get visitors even when you don't want them.
Exactly. And so I have five brothers and sisters, and I figured if we moved to Florida, we'll at least see everybody coming through to Disney and see mom and dad. So, and we needed the help, right? Yeah. So we moved to Florida 2001. Our babies were 1.
Yep.
And, kind of was stay at home for the first year. Mm-hmm. And then after that, I decided I'm not really cut out to be a stay-at-home mom. I just am not built that way. Yep. And went back to work, got my license here in Florida.
Yes.
But I realized I'm like, I need to do this around my family. This isn't me trying to go be a superstar realtor. I know I need a planner. I need something to do. I need to work. I'm a worker.
Yes.
I've been working since I was 15. But I knew I needed to build it around my family. So I figured I'm going to start small. I'm just going to work my neighborhood, and I'm going to build the community I want to live in and build relationships. And in the meantime, I have my real estate license, and if somebody needs to buy or sell, I can help them. And so that was my first community. It was Bridgewater in East Orlando.
Yep.
I threw bunco groups, really anything I could do to get out of the house with the kids is what we'd have play groups, and we'd just put the kids down in their carriers. And we would drink wine, and that was our play group. It was great.
And
met
that's
the neighbors.
Fine. And to your point, you're deepening relationships while simultaneously building the community you want to live in.
Exactly.
Right? Okay.
We did fundraiser garage sales and Easter egg hunts and all the things because I wanted to do them with my kids. And that neighborhood just took off a little faster than I expected. Huh. And within a couple of years, I had 80% market share in that neighborhood because I really just was trying to bring value to the community and make it a better place, right? And
so good intentions.
Absolutely. Yeah. And through that, then I realized I had a formula that works. And so you can't get much more out of that one neighborhood. No. And if I was going to grow, I needed to do something else. And so I duplicated those efforts in another farm. Okay. And that was very similar, 400, home community, manageable, relationships. And that was Rio Pinar in East Orlando. And then I did just the same formula in that community, and it took off over time too. Mm-hmm. And, I did that until about when we went through the downturn. And then
that whole time you were just single, licensed agent, aligned with a brokerage, no team, just Jenny Wemert out doing her thing.
Yeah. When I took on that second farm, I was still independent, but getting ready to hitting the ceiling, right, of what I could do, and what I was willing to do and give the time up. And so at that point, I started to look to hire an assistant, but that's scary to hire that first employee and be responsible for their family and have to wake up for somebody else in the morning. That's a big deal. And so the fear of that was holding me back. And the way I got around that was George Philbeck, another agent at the time. Our businesses were very similar. Yep. And
George is still here.
He's still doing his thing.
Yep.
And he and I hired our first assistant together. We didn't put our businesses together. We just shared the assistants.
Were you at the same brokerage?
Same brokerage.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we paid another team's manager to train our assistant because
wonderful.
That is the biggest challenge a single agent has is stopping to train an assistant. Mm-hmm. And so we hired that person, Stephanie, her name was Stephanie, to train our Jen, was our first assistant.
So you've been doing I'm going to have 5 Jens around me at all times. Since the inception.
Yeah. It just makes answering the phone easier.
Yes, it does. All right, got it.
So George and I did that for 4 months.
Okay.
And then both of our businesses took off at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was just too much for one assistant. And so we had a custody battle, and we hired a second assistant, and then Jen trained that assistant. And
Who got Jen?
We allowed her to choose, and she chose me. But
I love that. Oh, I've never heard that story actually from you. That's awesome. Okay.
She was my soulmate. She was so great.
Okay.
And then right after that, I realized, okay, I need to maximize my time, and putting buyers in my car and driving all over God's green earth just wasn't time efficient for me anymore with the kids and with the needs. And so that's when I knew I needed a buyer's agent, because I either had to back up and say no to opportunities, or go through the ceiling and take a piece of something instead of zero, right? And so I hired my first buyer's agent, Susan Blue, and she was with me for 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And so,
which is a commonality with a lot of your team members, but we'll go there. So what year is this now?
That was back in 2005, 4.
So no crisis yet, but we're getting close. We're getting almost there.
Yeah.
Okay, so Susan is your buyer's agent. Jen is still on board as your
my
transaction coordinator,
everything.
Team, everything.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're starting to build.
Yep.
Still it was a KW brokerage.
KW.
Yep. Okay, got it. All right.
Yeah, and we were, it was just, we were doing great. And then the market did start to shift, right? In 2006, we had, like I said, 80% market share in Bridgewater. But well, all of a sudden in 2006, 2007, they weren't calling me to list. The banks owned the properties now.
Yeah.
And so you had to be in business with the banks. And so we went down that road, and I, got into the business with the banks. But what I realized that we did different than maybe like other big REO brokers is that I never took our eye off our core business. And it was our database and the people we've served before, and the people that are in these communities where it was money, deals were falling in our lap. We were trying to make the banks happy. We were glorified assistants to the bank during that time.
Yeah.
And a lot of us just spent all our focus on that. I never took our eye off the ball of the farming or working our database, because I knew at some point this is turning around.
It's going to turn around.
Right. And all those listings that we sold for the banks have people that live in them that that had experienced our service. And so we weren't the REO agent that just kind of took that for granted. We worked it like we were going to work a traditional business for the next 20 years.
Well, and it's you make that point, and it's such a wonderful point, because I was in commercial world with Doug during that time, and we had a very similar approach to we were representing the borrowers, and we were going and sitting down with the banks trying to get commercial debt obligations worked out, and it was just so interesting because it was like so much emotion, not even emotion, but the human element, which always should have been there, disappeared, and we never understood why, because it was like, guys, back before this downturn, this was your best borrower, this developer, this shopping center owner. You couldn't wait to give this person money,
right? And
now you're treating them like this, like they're never going to be important to you again,
right?
It just seemed so contradictory. Short-sighted is right. And I get it with the bankers. A lot of them had their hands tied with the loss share agreements and everything else. But in your world, the ability to keep the consumer paramount, that homeowner, because boy, they're like, that was the worst time.
Right.
And they're going to remember who treated them with some empathy during that time when the world got back to normal, which of course it did.
Yeah. Yep.
Now
and a
you
lot
have
of those
people,
agents that were all REO were standing on one leg, and then you get fired from that company, or they are no longer selling, which is what happened, and now you're out of business.
Or that bank gets bought by Wells Fargo.
Yeah. I had Wachovia. It was the best gift ever. Wachovia was the best. But then we got Wells Fargo.
Then we got Wells.
Yeah.
Which wasn't the best.
Yeah. But
we can say that on camera. No one from Wells Fargo.
It was still, still a gift.
Yes, of course.
You had to be in the game,
yes,
or you were out of business.
Correct.
Yeah. So we made that transition, and then the next big transition, like between that time and we'll call it 2009, maybe 2008.
Yeah.
I had built the team up to maybe 4 or 5 people, 6 people maybe.
Yeah.
And it was just sort of rinse and repeat. Do we need an admin? Do we need an agent? And that's when Zillow and Realtor.com came online, where it was all of a sudden you can buy leads from us. And I remember Realtor.com calling me and saying, for $350 a month, we'll sell you some leads. And to me, that sounded like a lot of money. I'm like, that's crazy money. And, but I'm like, I'm going to do it. Let's just see what happens. And it was a windfall. Yeah. And I realized, kind of by happenstance, it's like leads can drive this business. And so as we were able to get more leads and opportunities, we were able to bring on more agents and feed more families. And so we've only ever hired if we've had enough leads or opportunity on the team, in my mind, to feed their family. And that's still how we recruit. We don't recruit. We only hire when we have the opportunity. But during that time, farming still worked, but it didn't because there's a digital component now. So it's like, okay, they get my flyers, but they're also going online now to Zillow and Realtor.com to see who else has listings in that area. So I started playing defense. Like, I needed to make sure that I had those zip codes covered digitally and like analog, and so
both fronts.
Yeah, right. And then by playing defense, I found an amazing offense. Yeah. And so I partnered with Zillow and Realtor.com very early. And then, early on realized how much the testimonials played into sellers calling us to list. And, those were the heydays, right? And so when I said earlier, like, we've partnered with Zillow, like, we've really built a business alongside of Zillow, but we've also realized that can't be, just like in the REO business, that can't be the only leg we stand on. No. It's an important part of our business. But really, right now, it's only 20% of what we sell is like our paid leads.
And we've had a huge market shift in that particular area, right? Go back 24 months, it was a totally different number. And now we've had to revert back to the other leg of the stool, the core competencies of the realtor.
Yeah. And we just have never taken our eye off that, though. Like, we're at 50% repeat referral and have been for years because we put such a heavy emphasis on that, even, with our team members, and try to get them out of the, dependency of the paid lead. Nobody wants to work the hard, cold paid lead. No. You want to work with people that know, love, and trust you. And so, the goal, the paid lead fills the pipeline. Of course. But the money is made on the second deal, the referral, the relationship.
Well, look, as the lender in the room, every time I get the call from, Joe, Corey, whoever it is, and they're like, hey, I'm going to send a client over to you. They just have some questions about financing. Oh, by the way, this is the fourth house I've sold them. Yeah. That's a very different conversation than, hey, I just got, the lead line, came in, get on the phone with them. Totally different dynamic, right? So, of course, I see the value all day. And it's there.
Right. Right. There. And you can start to count on it a bit, like once you start to get a certain number of people in your database, then you can actually start business planning around that. Where when you're business planning around a third, party, that's difficult. What do they say? Don't build a business on rented land or something,
Yes. Yeah.
That's what it feels like sometimes. But, you just have to know what you're getting yourself into. We know we're going in eyes wide open. Yes. That, we're always the best partner we can be to everyone in our world, but we know that may have to end for them or us at some point. It just doesn't make sense anymore.
Correct.
So we go in with our eyes wide open to play that game.
That's exactly right. Wow. So, it's so funny. We've known each other for, I don't know, probably a little over 4 years now.
Yeah, at least.
I never knew how early you began the partnership with Zillow and Realtor.com. That's super interesting.
That was super early.
So wait, when you began that relationship, at that point, were you still at KW or had you started Wemert Group Realty?
Still at KW. And then shortly after that, it needs to be noted that, my accountant husband...
We're going to talk about Mike for sure. As a matter of fact, that was in my brain. I wanted to understand what that conversation looked like. Yeah. Your accountant, husband, and also broker of WemertGroupRealty.com, right?
He had his broker's license since 2005.
Yeah. So, what was that conversation like? What was the thought process? How was it like, all right, we're doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We never set out to build a brokerage. That was not our plan. But my husband was going to get his license. He's like, I might as well get my broker's license, and we'll just have it because at some point we may need it. And he was going through the process anyway, so he just did that. And we sat on it for years. I mean, years. And in 2010,
Okay.
he was about to buy in at the firm. He was going to be an equity partner.
Yep.
And he's like, I am just selling my soul, and we had our kids, they had some special needs and they needed us more at that time. They were getting older. And I absolutely love what I do and doesn't feel like work to me every day. Yeah. And he absolutely hated what he did every day. And it felt like torture.
Very
right?
much. Like, yeah.
And so he, sacrificed. I don't know if I would say it was a sacrifice, but he came over and started running the team at that point. He's never been in the trenches of like selling real estate. He was over the REO department at the time. He didn't have to go do listing and buyer appointments. That wouldn't be his gig. But we were big enough at that point that he had something to run. Yeah. And then I could let go of the management pieces because that's not my forte. I mean, I just lead off my heart, and I could care less about P&Ls. I don't care about the money. The money always shows up if you do the right thing. So I just have never really cared about that. And you really should care about your P&Ls and your money if you're running a business. So,
but when you have a very trusted business partner who is all about the P&L, you know, all about the data,
right,
you can divide and conquer.
Right.
But I mean, that's scary, right? If you're about to buy into equity partner level, let's see, that was 2010, so there was a big 4 at that time. Mm-hmm. You know, you're walking away from what is a secure, salaried role to build something.
A big replacement salary that was going to be required.
Yes, that's scary.
It was
especially like you said, 3 children. Like, that's a big move. So you did it though. Yeah. Clearly, we're sitting here today. Right move, very successful. You built it all up. What did the first, 12 months of Wemert Group Realty look like?
Well, we were still at KW when Mike came on, and I'll never forget. We went to a business planning clinic or something. Yeah, and I was still the listing agent.
I feel like Mike could teach a business planning clinic.
He could, probably,
but okay, all
we
right.
were there, and
you went,
and he was filling out the paperwork, and I remember being with a couple of agents there with us. And he threw some crazy number down at the time. I don't remember. It was like, we're going to do 90 listings this year. And I looked at him, which would have been like triple what we did the year before or something. I can't remember. But I looked at him like, and I actually got mad at him. Like, who do you think is doing all those listings? Like, me? I have to do all that? Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And I just, and he sees a bigger picture than I see. I see in the trenches. I love being in the trenches.
Oh, I know.
And so I just remember being mad at him. And lo and behold, we did those numbers that year because it was easy for him to write those big checks to Zillow and Realtor.com because he understands it's a business expense and there's going to be a return on that investment. And, because I remember him saying to me, he goes, Jen, so many deals are from Zillow or whatever. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, well, why don't we buy more Zillow leads? I'm like, because it's like $2,000 a month. And he's like, well, are you telling me you can't sell one house? I'm like, of course I can. He's like, well, then that's like a 300% return or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. So I mean, we're just kind of
different way of looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, I was just like a really good realtor. I'm not saying I was a good business person. At the time, I've learned a lot.
But boy, you could sell some houses.
I could sell houses.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, again. And he then started spending money, and leads started coming in, and we started hiring realtors to work the leads, and then it's been rinse and repeat ever since. We got to about 500 transactions at KW, and at that point, we had 42 team members, I think, at the time, and we were still staying under their roof and kind of milking it, and at the time, it was still worth it. Yes. Because, there's a big expense and liability that comes with
absolutely
the
a big
brokerage.
Liability.
Yeah, and, check the news.
Yes.
Nobody wants to be a broker today.
We're very well aware. Correct. Yes,
so
yes,
that's not fun. But anyway, we were very happy paying our part at KW, and didn't even try to like negotiate a cap because we wanted to be a good partner to the office, because we relied on the office to help us find talent and train our talent and so on. But it came a point where we needed to get our own place.
Yeah.
And we were building a culture within the culture. We were using all of our own tech stack. And it was just time.
Yeah.
And when you look at that and you're like, okay, well, we're going to still send, a couple $100,000 back to KW literally just for the name.
Yeah.
Then it just didn't make business sense anymore.
Right.
And so at that time, we would have loved to stay. I was bleeding red KW.
Yep.
But I was, we just kind of ran out of opportunity and ladder.
Yeah.
I think that they've kind of worked around that for future teams now.
Yes.
But at the time, our only option was expansion, which we weren't interested in. It made no sense to us. Owning a Keller Williams office, there's not enough profit in it.
Well, not enough profit, and they grow. Your growth models are just different.
It's different.
Your growth
I
is very
didn't want 600
intentional.
agents. I wanted 40.
Correct. Enough that you can sustainably feed and grow with. Yeah.
Right.
I get it. I get it 100%.
And profitability. Like, that's what we're all doing this for. I mean, let's just be honest. But
correct.
So that's when we opened up Wemert Group, and that was 7-8 years ago.
Okay.
2017, 16.
And how many agents did you have at the start? You said 45?
It was we were a team of 42. I can't remember
Okay.
the number of agents versus admin, but
Okay.
team of 42. And we all picked up and went over, and we kind of stayed in KW's good graces. We were good partners because we still were able to.
And you still refer into the KW
I
network.
do, because we don't hire most people.
Yeah. I mean, I can't. How many referrals I brought to you that were just not in your core competency market, and it ends up going to Tony Baroni or whoever.
Yeah.
Right. And so you're very much are still a valuable part of that ecosystem. I'd say certainly today, just from the
still a
referral
fan.
basis alone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool. So you said something that was really interesting, is you built a culture within a culture. Because, when we first started working together, shout out to Emily Smith, best gatekeeper ever, right? We don't need to tell that story here, but I could never get a glimpse inside of what Wemert Group Realty was, because you protect your preferred partners, your vendors that are in there very much, which made me want to become a preferred partner vendor. So much more so, because
we try to be hyper loyal.
Correct. But the moral of the story is, I didn't know what the culture was. All I knew was, hey, if I can get aligned with Wemert Group Realty as a lender, I can very much grow my business. That's why I wanted in. So ultimately got in, saw what the culture was, totally drank the Kool-Aid, of course, and it changed my opinion completely of how this thing, Wemert Group Realty, became what it was, because I saw what the culture you had created and how the agents that are in there feel about, not just you and Mike and Emily and Suzanne, but all their other realtor partners that are in there.
Yeah.
It's like, not to use a cheesy like corporate buzzword, but synergy, right? On like steroids. It's insane how they all work together openly, hand in hand, willing to help each other out. And I mean, how many people do you have that have been with you for over 5 years now?
35 plus, something like that.
35 plus people? Like how the hell do you do that?
Yeah.
How do you create that?
I think the honest answer is just being kind and realistic about humans. I mean, a lot of people hire to serve themselves and don't take into account that people have lives and like they go through things, and so we live life with our people. So they have deaths, they have births, they are sick, they're managing family members and sickness and all the things, moves, and we just have figured out a way to create that flexibility to allow people to come and go in their business, because really the realtors run their own business within our business. Where I don't need a bunch of robots working for us. everybody to do 3 transactions a month, and if not, you're out. And if you don't make 100 calls today, like we treat everybody as humans, and everybody has their different strengths. It's really just based on what are their goals, what do they want to achieve. If we are on board with that, then we will do what we can to put, kind of the bumpers around them and provide the infrastructure for them to achieve that. But I'm not going to tell them exactly how they have to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what you do during the day and how many calls you make. Like, go do the business because you're, an adult.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to like bring them in to ring a bell and do the thing. Like,
no.
And I think by treating people as people,
Yes,
going through life, that matters. And then I still think like an agent. So I always put myself in their shoes and think, what do I feel like would be fair? And so when we're, looking at our model or splits or opportunities, it's not equal on our team. It's fair based on conversion rates or like, their goals and what, all of the things. But it's just, it needs to be fair, in my opinion. And we just try to that we lead with that.
Yeah.
We lead with that, and we lead with a lot of empathy, and then there's parts of our business that are highly accountable. That, like the Zillow leads and the Realtor.com leads, like we are answering to a third party.
Correct.
And the opportunity is greater if we do a good job. And we lose the opportunity if we don't, right?
Now so more than ever.
Right.
With the AI and
So in our world, they have an option. They can choose to be in that accountable path, or they don't have to. And we kind of try to train from abundance. There's enough to go around. You don't have to hoard leads. You don't have to take more than your fair share because, when you have too many leads, you drop them all. Like, take a lead and service the people. And then when you get them under contract, come back and there'll be another opportunity. And so we just have kind of all worked together that way and protect the business because we all benefit from it. Like, we truly are stronger together.
Yeah, truly. And what is it? Ubuntu? Ubuntu. I butchered it. Yeah. And that truly means exactly stronger together.
Stronger together. I am because we are.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's all over our office. We have it like in like pictures on the wall, and I mean it's all over the place because I believe in that strongly, and we need the buy-in. You won't be comfortable on the team if you don't have a servant heart and have an abundant mindset. It's
very true. It's very true. And then you have these agents, 35 plus, that have been with you over 5 years. You did something, said something. This is something that I've never had said to me by a broker, a team lead, whatever. I thought it was really impactful. When we were going through 2020, 2021, even 2022, and lenders were, we were very successful side by side with our realtor partners, right? We were doing good. We were making good money. And it was, how can we get back? Can we participate in a party? Anything that was RESPA compliant, right? Anything that we could do to give back and to help. And what you said to me and Doug at the time was, hey, you know what would be great? We've got these agents that are making more money than they've ever made in their entire life. Could you get some of them, and more so Doug than me, right? Because he's been doing it much longer and is very good with personal finance. Can you get them into a room and share with them personal finance strategies, best practices, how to grow real wealth, how to build a legacy that helps you retire someday, achieve true financial freedom, leave a legacy to your children or a charity or whoever you see fit. And that was super impactful to me because I'd never heard a broker or a team lead ever say that to me before. Help me show my agents that are making a ton of money, more than they ever thought they would, how to invest it, how to grow it, how to be smart with it. That's huge. When did you, and when and why, how did that trigger in your brain? When did you start putting such a focus and emphasis on that?
I think it's, again, just being in life with these people, right? So I want the best for them. And I don't want them to come into a market like we're walking into right now, unprepared, without reserves, without a plan. I don't want them to have to trade money for time forever, right? Like a broker, I should try to keep them broke and get them to buy
there, right?
all the Range
More lead
Rovers
lines,
and all the
more-
things,
yes.
because then they have to sell more houses. But we can hire more agents. Like, I want them to have real wealth and balance. I mean, you burn out. This is a tough industry, and I want them to have reserves and peace. So my big why, my whole life for doing this is freedom. I needed freedom. I don't need things. I don't buy things. I need freedom of choices.
The Wemobile is parked out front.
Yes,
right
I
now.
drove the car with my face on it today. That's
Yes.
slightly mortifying. But my husband drives that car. Talk about no ego. Every day.
Well, and to be fair, you and Mike have also used real estate as a wonderful wealth building tool. You have a portfolio of your own real estate. You have not in any way, shape, and form. You are preaching what you practice and practicing what you preach to the fullest when you're talking to these agents about wealth building strategies.
Right.
And also driving the Wemobile.
That's a little too far. In my opinion, my husband keeps waiting for this new electric something. I don't even know.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, he drives the Wemobile back and forth to work every day, and he's perfectly fine with that. He has zero ego. I feel a little silly driving a car with my face on it, but here we are.
It's got good tint.
Yeah. But we lived in our first home for 14 years without granite countertops. I mean, we were high earners.
Yeah.
Most of our career in real estate. And we lived in that house, paid it off young, and still lived in that house. And we took the extra money, one, to raise our kids, they were expensive, but two, to start buying rental properties and building those that portfolio.
True wealth.
And then eventually we bought our next home, which is still very modest.
But granite countertops.
But it has has Carrera marble or whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called. But so anyway, that's we do practice that. We travel really well. I mean, there's some things we splurge on.
But look, that comes back to the work-life balance thing, right?
Like that's important to me.
You travel, you unplug, you expose your 3 children to other cultures, other countries. You make them more worldly. You prepare them for success in this world.
Right.
And you unplug from this industry, which will totally burn you out if you don't. 100%.
Right.
You got to do that. And then your realtors, all your agents that work for you, they see you doing that. They do the same thing. They're great. And honestly, because they do it, I'll never forget the first time I took a vacation after working with Wemert Group Realty. I never had a group of agents that were like so respectful of me needing to unplug for a week. It was just wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We try to be nice people. Right. And that's who you pick, people that are a mirror image of you, and I want to make sure that when we're putting clients in our agents' hands, that they're going to be in good hands, that they're going to be in relationships. You've been there in those negotiations to be a partner of ours, where I want to make sure that we're going to bring as much value to you as you're bringing to us. We're not the brokerage just trying to get handouts from anybody that'll give us $1.
No.
Like, we turn away that. We want, because it's important to us to bring the value.
Yeah.
Like, we want to make sure that we're living up to what we're promising. And so I just think that we treat every relationship in our world that way, whether it's Zillow or it's lenders or our roofers or whatever, or other agents on the other side of transactions. We try to take care of everyone. Yeah. This is a small world. The reputation matters.
Orlando real estate is a small world. Absolutely. Reputation matters, and it is far easier lost than it is gained. I think we all know that.
Very hard to get back.
Very hard to get back. Okay. So 25 years into the real estate industry, built Wemert Group Realty, have pivoted as times change. Zillow Realtor comes online. We have all these things that are changing in our industry. What is today, aside from, of course, bifurcation of agent commissions, and maybe that is the right thing that we talk about, but it doesn't have to be your answer. What's the biggest challenge that you feel like you're facing today as a broker, owner, team lead, participant in the Orlando and greater real estate industry?
I mean, we're just keeping up with the number of things that are coming at us. It's a little bit ropey-dope at the moment.
Yeah.
We've got a market that is just sort of stagnant. We've got, everybody stuck in listings because of the low interest rates that were historically too low. Hindsight is 2020, but we're never going to get these 2%ers out of their house.
No.
And then we have the interest rates that are just really unaffordable for a buyer right now, and their disposable income is getting eaten up in,
inflationary goods.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we are just kind of stuck. Sales, the units are down. Prices are not, so it's a confusing market. It's never been seen before. And so just navigating that and trying to have our agents understand it enough to make the clients feel comfortable either buying or selling in this market is a challenge. But, on the heels of that, we also have all of the class action lawsuits out there that are attacking our industry, which could lead to the bifurcation of the commissions, meaning that the buyers have to pay for their own commissions and the seller has to pay their own, which is going to be a challenge because the buyers struggle to come up with the down payment and the closing costs and now the commissions. Anyway, something's going to happen. We don't know what yet. So we're just waiting to see how this plays out. In the meantime, we're preparing for our agents to make sure, and this is not new, this is something we do already, that they have a strong understanding of their value proposition to a buyer and a seller. And then we're going to have to just pivot as we get the information and have to deal with it. There will be a way around this.
We will get through this.
There will be.
As we've gotten through everything else.
We're going to have to help people buy and sell homes. That doesn't stop. Everybody needs shelter.
Yes.
So what that looks like in the future, probably going to be drastically different than what we see it as right now. But, I think we're all prepared to make those changes.
But it's so uncertain. Like you said, you almost have to have plan A, B, C ready to deploy. And then how this thing ultimately shakes out is how we're going to have to pivot, change the industry such, like we were talking about before we turned the cameras on. There may be changes to lending rules that help answer some of this.
Yeah.
Who knows, right? Again, that has to be effectuated at the federal level.
There has to be some relief somewhere.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to have to, we need insurance reformed.
Oh, goodness. We haven't even gotten there.
Right.
I don't know if we have another 45 minutes. Yeah.
There has to be reform.
Correct.
There's no doubt that it's needed. We're at a tipping point. So it will be like you went through it in 2008 with lenders and the CFPB coming online and all of that. I think we're going to probably have something similar in our world. And we'll just pivot. But in the meantime, we have to run lean, but not run scared. And I'm trying to encourage our agents to run lean right now and be careful with their spending because there will be a transition, and we're just mastering our craft. We're just trying to be the best we can be, and that's always
value proposition.
Yeah.
Absolutely, being able to bring the value proposition to the client.
Yeah, and then Mike and I, that's our job. We keep our ear to the ground to see what's coming, try to look around the corner.
And you guys are great at that. You are, through your connections, through your ability to kind of interpret data, which Mike is the data king. I love it. But you see where the puck is going, to use a terrible reference for someone sitting in Orlando, Florida, right? You see where the puck is going to, and you skate to where the puck is. Okay. All right. So, boy, with all those different things, all those different variables of challenges that we're facing today, high prices, low inventory, high rate, decoupling of commissions, potentially, how much of your day is spent just working on keeping yourself, right? Because we're not isolated from this.
Yeah.
Yourself, but all of your agents' mindset healthy.
That's my only job.
Okay, appreciate the honesty.
And saving deals, because every deal is hard right now.
It's unbelievable. And the percentage of deals that are going from contract to releasing cancellations,
very high.
It's unbelievable. Going back year over year to today. Remarkable. Remarkable how many are falling apart.
Every deal just has Well, buyers are skittish, and back in the seller's market, and the buyers had low interest rates. Inspections didn't even matter. They'll take it, whatever.
Yep.
Now it's like, the drain stopper doesn't work. I'm canceling. And so it's getting back into those negotiations, finding strategies to hold these together, keeping people's motivation high in the transaction because it's stressful.
It's very stressful.
It's difficult. The agents are stressed. The lenders are stressed. Everybody's stressed.
It's their one deal that's got to close this month.
Right.
It's got to close.
Right.
Christmas is right around the corner.
Yep.
Like it's tough.
Yeah, it is. It's tough right now.
I have a deal with Joe and Corey where we have a clear to close buyer suing for specific performance. Seller won't close. You probably heard about it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But oh my goodness, how unheard of is that?
Yeah.
Seller just won't sign.
Yeah. Or I had one the other day where Fannie Mae decided to downgrade the property, or what do you call it?
Oh, this was the appraisal. This was the risk score.
Reduce the appraisal by $100,000.
Yeah.
How do you get in front of that?
No, and these are the things you just don't see coming, and then couple that with the emotions right now. So much of it is being in the right headspace.
Yeah, it's difficult, and trying to stay calm and try to find solutions. We just have to stay solution based, and we have to know the resources out there to get things done on behalf of the clients and try to keep deals together.
Okay, so here's one. I should have prepped you for this one. If you don't know the answer, we'll cut it and we won't even talk about it, right? It will never make the final cut. But when we're talking about attrition and agents leaving the market, lenders leaving the market, appraisers leaving the market, how many agents are leaving the market currently, not renewing license? Do you know that?
I don't know current local, but I mean I hear projections, and I've heard as high as 80% projections.
Wow.
The majority of the realtors on roster at Aura are part-timers, right?
Yes.
It's really probably a 95-5 rule.
Yeah.
5% of them sell
full-time agents.
Yeah, and sell the majority of the real estate, right? So it's not expensive to keep a license, but if you are trying to make a living at it, it's going to get harder and harder to do it in just a few deals a year. So I think we're going to see a lot of fallout. I think people are going to not be able to withstand a few months of stagnant real estate and need to go get
savings,
a job. What I wish, we've seen it a little bit on our team, but if people would just put the time that they are putting into the part-time job into their working their database and relationships and network, they can make it through. But a lot of agents are having trouble kickstarting that machine again.
Yeah.
And really digging deep in not because they're so used to real estate falling out of the sky.
Yeah.
And so, turning on the engine to really, really work hard and what's the word? Prospect.
Yeah.
Then they'll be fine, but
so
it's easier to go take the job.
Oh yeah, it's safer. It's much safer, and in a time of uncertainty, people turn to safety. Most personality types turn to safety.
We're seeing a lot of movement in brokerages too, though, because agents think that another broker is going to save them.
Yeah.
And it's the same work that's required. They may have a couple more resources or, less spending up front that the agent has to do or something, but it's not the answer either. There's so much movement in the market right now just out of desperation.
Yeah. And it's in my personal opinion going to get a little bit harder before it gets better.
I agree.
But that's it. So that's the agent who has been in it for a while, has the database, has the ability to, if they put the time and effort and the energy into it, dial in, do the activities, do the behaviors instead of taking the part-time job, they could fight through to the other side. But believe it or not, I have met with a couple agents that really decided, hey, I think this is the best time. I'm going to get licensed now. I'm going to get into real estate right now in this crazy time.
They're running into the fire. In closing, give us a piece of advice for those agents, the new agents that are running into the fire to get licensed and get in the industry right now. They need to get near the mousetrap, which is a house, right? So
yeah.
The buyers are looking for houses.
Yeah.
So they need to get off of social media and get themselves into a house.
So don't do the podcast that
Well,
we're doing.
no, I'm just saying like,
Yeah,
they need
no.
to get in a house so
Yes.
buyers will walk in and
Yes.
they're like real people. So the house, the inventory is
Yes.
the mousetrap. If they don't have the inventory, they need to get near the inventory somehow. Whether
As close
that's
as they can.
working with the builder, or if that's working with another team, like in their brokerage. Whatever
Every
it
big
is.
listing agent needs someone to sit their open houses on the
Right.
weekends.
Right.
That's
offer,
right.
Offer the team leader a referral fee to sit in their open house, because they worked hard to get that listing, and then all of those leads during that open house are being directed to you. It's only fair that you offer that team leader a referral, but you're not going to, zero, zero, zero. Like, get
Correct.
in the mousetrap of a house.
Yes.
And that would be, sit in an open house every day until you have somebody to go show a house to.
Still do your TikToks on your own time, but get in the
Do
house.
them while you're in the house.
Yeah, do them while you're in the house.
Do your prospecting at the house. But turn a house into your home office.
Yeah.
Because nobody's coming to you at your home office.
Nope.
They're going to come to a house. So find a house.
Love that.
Sit in it.
Sit in it, make it your office.
And make calls.
Okay,
And
that's
do
good.
TikTok dances or whatever.
I love it.
Else.
Whatever they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to cover while we're here today?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head other than when you're building a team, working on keeping the retention
Yes.
allows you to keep growing instead of staying on that hamster wheel of turnover
Yeah.
and rebuild. And every time you turn over, your culture changes, where if you can work on making sure that you're retaining who you have and build organically, you'd be surprised how fast you can build versus setting arbitrary goals, throwing people at it, and not understanding why your team can't take off.
And
so
I don't care what industry you're in, that's good advice.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be
Really
patient.
is.
This wasn't built overnight.
No, nothing is.
Yeah.
Kind of like my podcast here. Got to get started somewhere.
You got to start somewhere.
I love it. Thank you, Jenny.
You're welcome.